What is up? And welcome back to Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. Hope you have been well. Doing a mini-sode today talking about the NBA. Quick programming note first, though, the schedule is going to be a little bit different as I devote a lot of coverage to March Madness. Also, I'm working on another project that I hope to be able to talk about soon. So make sure that you are tapped into my social media accounts, which are at The Brandon Silvers on Instagram and at One Brandon Silvers on Twitter for more info. Also, we'll post some information on my blog, the show notes. You can find a link for that in the show notes down below. Okay, we are entering the fourth quarter of the NBA season, a perfect time to see who are the teams we should be paying attention to in terms of title contenders. Back before he became a grumpy old white guy, Phil Jackson used to talk about the 40-20 rule to see who the real contenders were in the league. I don't know if he came up with it or just popularized it, but the rule says that teams that will actually compete for the NBA title will win 40 games before they lose 20. This seems like a theory that would fall off as teams seem to value the regular season less and less, preferring to practice load management to save themselves for the playoffs. So I was surprised to see that it doesn't look like there's been a team that has won the title without meeting that 40-20 criteria in a full 82-game regular season since the 2006 Miami Heat. To put that in perspective, that was so long ago that I was attending a basketball camp when it happened. The teams that hit that 40-20 criteria this season are the Thunder, Celtics, Timberwolves, and Nuggets. So, will one of these teams win it all this year, once again proving the 40-20 rule correct? Since this is a mini-sode and I don't have any time to waste, I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the Minnesota Timberwolves from contention. It was just announced that Cat has a torn meniscus and he's going to be out at least a month, and that will certainly hurt their chances, but also this was not going to be a championship contender even if that didn't happen. That's not to say they haven't had a great season. They've been at the top of the Western Conference all year. Rudy Gobert has figured out how to play elite defense again, which has helped make them the best defensive team in the league, and Anthony Edwards has taken another step forward. They've certainly improved way faster than I thought they would. I predicted they would win more games this year than they did last year, but they've already exceeded last season's win total. So you can see why on paper they seem like a potential champion with a healthy Cat, but watching them play is one of the most bizarre experiences because they go through long stretches where they have what appears to be a room temperature basketball IQ. It's cost them an embarrassing loss here or there, like when Cat scored 60 and they lost to the Hornets, but you can mostly survive playing goofy, for lack of a better term, in the regular season, particularly when you have such an elite defense. I have no faith in them being able to focus better come playoff time, though, and the biggest reason for their elite defense, Rudy Gobert, has shown repeatedly how easy it is to play him off the court in a 7-game series. So now you're looking at a goofy team without an elite defense. If my math is right, then that's just a goofy team. The Cat injury simply throws a bit more dirt on the coffin. Overall, again, a fantastic season for them. They're way ahead of schedule, but let's be realistic. Now, I wanted to write off the Oklahoma City Thunder as well for entirely different reasons, but they do make that kind of tough. Like the T-Wolves, they have already surpassed their win total from last season. In my season preview, I said that I thought they'd be a surprisingly good regular season team, similar to the Kings last season or the Grizzlies from a couple years ago, who lost early in the playoffs due to lack of experience. They've done a good job of trying to move me off that prediction because I really like watching this team play. SGA is a legitimate MVP candidate, and Chet has come in and played way better than I thought he would. They hired Chip England, the shooting coach who transformed the Spurs back in the day, and he has Lou Dort shooting 40% from 3. I would print that stat out, circle it in red ink, and immediately go ask for a raise. And they're not just shooting better as a team, but they're improved at every aspect of the game. So you can certainly see why they're talked about as a title contender, but even with the way the game is played now, I have a hard time believing in a team that's lacking solid post defenders. Again, Chet is great and he's been better than I expected, but how does he hold up in a 7-game series against a Jokic or an AD or even Sabonis? I'm just as shocked as anybody, but the Lakers won the season series against the Thunder 3-1, and AD averaged 27 and 13. That's the perfect example example of a team that could take them out, experienced with a skilled big. You have a couple of those in the West that you might have to go through just to make the finals. Before the season, I suggested they move Josh Giddey to help solve that problem and get someone who could help defend in the post. Hindsight being 2020, that actually would have saved them a lot more trouble too. And now teams are starting to sag way off Giddey, daring him to shoot threes, so we have to see how their offense adjusts to that. I want to believe in this team. I keep telling myself the 2015 Warriors were pretty inexperienced when they won it all, but they were way more dominant than this squad and just a more complete team. So unfortunately, as great as this season has been, I don't think they're an actual title contender yet either, which leaves us with just two teams, the Celtics and the defending champion Denver Nuggets. So who's going to win it all? The Celtics have been far and away the best team in the league this entire season. They're on pace for around 65 wins. Drew Holiday has been an upgrade over Marcus Smart. Who would have thunk? Derek White is not an all-star, but he's had an even better year than last season, and Kristaps has been healthy for Kristaps. When you add in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown doing what they've always done, it's not hard to see why this team is favored to win it all. They're even better on both sides of the ball than they were last year and the year they lost to Golden State in the finals. They are certainly an NBA championship contender, and I still can't bring myself to believe in them. Last week was a perfect example of why. They started the week off by crushing the Warriors by 52 points, just flat out murdering them on national TV. They've done that a lot this season, just blow teams out. It was the third time they've beaten a team by 50 or more points. The very next game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who were missing Donovan Mitchell and Max Strus, they were up by 22 in the fourth quarter, and they lost after getting outscored as a team by a single guy named Dean Wade. They followed that up with another loss to the Nuggets. This has just been their MO, with Brown and Tatum leading the way. When things are going well, there's no better team. They look like an all-time dynasty, but they aren't, because things can shift so fast in the other direction and it gets ugly quick. A big reason for this wild inconsistency is they just shoot too many threes. They lead the league in attempts per game at just over 42. And they're near the league lead in percentage as well, and it's awesome to shoot that great on such a high volume, but 40% doesn't mean you're going to go 16 for 40 every game. You might make 24 one game and 8 the next. You might have a couple of games where you hit 6 or 8. That's fine. Over the course of 82 games, eventually things will even out, but a playoff series is 7 games at the most. There's no guarantee you're going to sniff your season average because it's such a small sample size, and that's exactly why they keep getting tripped up in the playoffs over and over again. And of course, they still have the same issues they've always had, in addition to their over-reliance on the three. As great as Tatum and Brown are, which one is the elite championship winning number one guy? Tatum is supposed to be that and can perform close enough to that level to make you understand why he looks like that a little bit, but in those losses to the Cavs and the Nuggets, he had chances to win the game at the end and failed to come through. Now, coming through in the clutch isn't easy, but Tatum's failed at it so many times, or even worse, he just won't show up at all, leaving Brown to be that number one guy, and he's even less equipped than Tatum is skill-wise. This team is talented enough to win it all without that true number one player, but so many things have to go right for that to happen. There's a reason we haven't seen it yet. They're basically a prettier version of what the Miami Heat have been. So yes, this is a title contender, but I'm going to have to see it to believe it, which leaves the Denver Nuggets. For a defending champion, they've really flown under the radar. We like for you to win it all, then come back the next season and somehow level up as if you didn't just prove that you were the best team in the league. Since they've been merely great instead of running through the league, they actually seem underrated at the moment. In reality, they've been very close to the pace they were on last year with slightly better metrics. The only question mark is the question mark that's been there for a while: health, specifically the health of Jamal Murray. He's been battling ankle injuries for much of the year, and that throws up red flags for me personally because, one, those linger until you can have extended time to recover from them, and even then, they are more prone to re-injury. And number two, grain of salt here because I'm not a doctor, but I think ankle injuries and the weakness in your ankles that result from them being injured can make you more susceptible to Achilles ruptures. Purely anecdotal, but I ruptured my left Achilles tendon and I was always spraining my left ankle. Also, Kobe tore his Achilles tendon not too long after spraining his ankle because Dante Jones is a dirty player who should be in jail. I have no scientific proof that this is a real thing. I just believe that the Achilles tendon takes on extra load that can no longer be handled by weak ankles. That sounds logical to me, and it's always my concern when I see players who repeatedly hurt their ankles. But again, assuming everyone remains healthy, it's hard to imagine any other team beating them. Even zooming out from the 40-20 squads, who matches up well with them? From the East, the Bucks have looked better since the All-Star break, but are you betting on a Doc Rivers coach team in the playoffs? We just saw what the Nuggets did against the Celtics. The Clippers have done an excellent job on Jokic this season, but Paul George's knee has been acting up, and now Westbrook is hurt too. The Kings might be the best answer to this question since they've gone 3-1 against Denver this year. I mean, it's possible, but it looks like that cat injury has inspired the Nuggets to make a push for one of those top 2 playoff seeds, and if that happens, they'll almost certainly avoid playing Sacramento for at least one round, which means the Kings are going to have to win a series or two to have a shot at dethroning them. I'm no stranger to ridiculous takes, but I'm not bold enough to predict that one yet. However, if it happens, please be sure to give me full credit. All right, that will do it for today as I load manage my way into March Madness. Appreciate you watching, listening, subscribing, rating, reviewing, and sharing. Again, follow those social media accounts and my blog listed below if you haven't already, so you're ready for when I drop new episodes, and I will catch you very soon.